So we're going to go into just some practical tips for, time management or how to stay productive. And the first one is evaluate your week. So all of you guys are in a different season of life. Some of you are parents. Some of you do work, 40-hour jobs. Some of you don't. And so having a to-do list, even for your crew material, is so important.
Yeah.
A question I get very often from you guys is, well, how do you do it? And I think, honestly, the only way that I'm able to do it is first Jesus. But that I give myself grace and I prepare. So, we send you guys the crew outlines in advance. First thing on Monday. So if you know your crew is Thursday, don't wait till Thursday, 30 minutes before crew to run through the material. Take advantage of the resources. Like you guys can hear the podcast. You can do a refresher. So if that means, maybe my week is really crowded, all I know is I have an hour commute to work, use that hour, to listen to the podcast and to prepare. So again, make sure that you have a weekly to-do list, even in preparation for crew.
Right. That's really good. And take initiative. Not waiting for others to push you to do it, and not doing it for the affirmation of someone else. It's always nice to be affirmed and to be encouraged by people, of course. But if you are only doing certain things in hopes that you're going to be affirmed, then you might be waiting a long time, and it might end up kind of taking the wind out of your sails. So it's just so I think that's just an important life lesson almost, just to do things because you know why you're doing it, and that goes back to the vision and the mission of what Cruise is and what we're doing as a church. And if you're always waiting for other people to affirm it, it's gonna be a while. So know why you're doing it and take that initiative.
And honestly, having a to-do list or preparing for crew is half the battle, right?
Yes.
Because you actually have to do it, right? Finish what you start. So don't just say, I think sometimes when we launch crew season, there's all that excitement the first week or two.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so you want to stay focused. You have a to-do list. You listen to the podcast like 3 times.
Right.
And then you get halfway through the season and it's like, because you're familiar, you're comfortable with your crew. It's easier to go on cruise control, which is why it's so important, again, that you take that time to pause.
So good.
And yes, have a to-do list, but make it a priority, right?
That's so good.
Prepare, take attendance. I shouldn't be hounding you, your crew mentor shouldn't be hounding you, to take attendance because we never got it. All those small things matter because it takes a lot. When we, it's a blessing that we have 60 plus crews running.
It's amazing.
But that also means that everyone has something to contribute. So although, yes, it's like, attendance, I'll just do it. That affects someone else's job, you know what I mean? And that affects us really, really getting done what we need to get done.
Right, that's so good. And mapping out your tasks, what those tasks are, whether it's attendance or, listening to the podcast or all the different tasks that you may have to do for crew and even before or after crew in your personal life. Something that I have started to do probably about a year ago is when I do a timeline, a lot of times I actually will start backwards. So instead of saying, really I know that I need this done by Friday, I'll start backwards and I'll say, okay, Friday, this has to be done. So by Thursday, this needs to be done. And by Wednesday, that needs to be done. Somehow for me, that makes it a little bit more realistic instead of standing at Monday and looking out at Friday and knowing, I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to get it done. But if you start backwards, you can take the steps apart a little bit better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No,
I think I feel like that's a helpful, it's like a helpful tip to use, especially when it comes to some of these tasks, because some of the tasks are very menial for crew, whether it's attendance or some of the smaller things, but they still take time. And so if my attendance needs to be in as soon as crew is done or by that next morning, whatever it is that you have to do, start doing it and maybe try going backwards.
No, it's really good. Yeah, it's really good. And double check it.
Yeah,
I think of
so
it.
Good.
We were just talking about attendance, and I'm even guilty of this sometimes. Sometimes in making sure I just get it done, I end up realizing, oh man, I didn't check. The right boxes.
right.
I missed this person.
Right.
And so we have to go back. Right. We always want to make sure that we're giving our best.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't even about giving our best to me or, you know, to you or to Pastor Marco. It's about giving your best to God. Like we want to serve God well and serve him in excellence. Like God gave his best to us, right? He went to the cross for us.
Right.
So although it might seem like a small task, do it and do it well.
Yeah. So good. And keep yourself accountable. Ask yourself, am I doing my best? I think that is, it's just so important because you really are accountable to your members that are part of your crew, whether they are people that are brand new or whether they've been in part of your crew for the last, 5 or 6 seasons. That doesn't really matter because everyone's coming to crew with an expectation. Just because it's in your home, I think that sometimes it's easy to probably just kind of coast, like, oh yeah, it's, you just relax a little bit more. But just like every Sunday, everybody that serves on Sundays, we know we have to give it our best. We've got to do our best because we don't know who's coming in. If we come into church on a Sunday with all of our baggage from the week and with a bad attitude, and then we end up kind of crossing paths with someone who's there for the first time and you kind of throw up your bad attitude on them, that leaves a really bad impression on them, on not only on the church, but more importantly on who Jesus is. And so even within your crews, even more so is it important for you to ask yourself those questions and really say, am I doing the best that I can do? Am I really connecting with the people in my crew? Am I thinking about everything that needs to be done so I can set up a space of excellence and set up a space of comfort for them to be able to really open up? Those are really good. Those are questions that you really need to ask yourself and put yourself in other people's position too. Like if this was my first time here, how would I feel? I mean, it could be something as little as, is the pathway to my house clear? Like, is it, those very little things? Because people, if there's not parking spots, people have like left the church because I don't know where to park. Something very simple like that can turn people off. And again, it's not a personal thing. It's more like, okay, I have to look again at the big picture and see, all right, is this something, does this is going to help someone, if this is going to help someone get closer to Jesus, whether it's something very small or very large, you have to ask yourself, am I giving my best? Is this the best scenario for someone to meet Jesus and to connect with others?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had a crew a few seasons ago that I knew I had a lot of new members. And so literally what you're saying, I live on a very narrow one-way street. And when I sent out the reminder for my first crew, I actually wrote on there, like, look, like, I live on a street that's a one-way. There's not a lot of parking. It was the winter to top it off.
Oh, so my gosh.
There was snow. But it's so funny because it is crazy how much people appreciated that small detail. And it's funny because it actually ended up being a blessing that I lived on a narrow street, because once the girls got comfortable, they would carpool. And so it was a few extra minutes for them to connect before and after crew. But yeah, like you said, I sometimes I wonder, like, had I not done that, how many would have just kept driving? Because they were new to the church and it was their first crew, and it is intimidating to show up at someone's house that you don't know. So pay attention to those small details. And most importantly, celebrate. Oh my gosh, this is something that, and I'm preaching to myself, guys, that I think this generation oftentimes takes for granted. We don't pause. We don't acknowledge the blessings that God gives us. And so, again, it is a privilege and an honor and a blessing to you just as much, just as much as it is to the people attending your crew to have crew. That we are able to do what we do. And so even if it's a small praise report, there is no such thing as a small praise report.
No, there really isn't.
And so teach your crew how to celebrate as well. It is uncommon for more people than you even know. You know what I mean? It's sometimes, again, it's uncommon for me to like be able to pause and say, man, wow, like I see God in this. Or especially if it's familiar, if you've led crew multiple seasons, to say, man, wow, God's still trusting me with this.
Absolutely.
God, oh my gosh, I have been with the same people this long thank God they even want to be part of this crew.
And they're still coming.
Yeah. And so we have to be able to celebrate what God's doing. Even small tasks, right? Like attendance. I think it's awesome. I think you should give yourself a pat on the back if you lasted all season without a reminder.
Right.
You know what I mean? To take your attendance. Like, thank God that that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
You know.
So good.
The Bible says that we should come to God with thanksgiving.
Yep.
Right? And sometimes we skip that. We go like straight into like prayer.
Right.
For
your needs.
For a petition, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, come to him with thanksgiving.
It's good.
And man, it'll do more for you sometimes than even
for sure.
Like anyone else.
Definitely. Yeah. So gratitude does more for you, I think, than it does for anybody else. Mm-hmm. Because it's a position of your heart. So thank you so much for tuning in to this Cru Essential. I'm glad that I was able to join Adriana in this. I hope that you find this helpful. And you know what? It's helpful to rewatch things. Sometimes you hear it once and it's like, oh, this was good. And you forget about it.
Yeah.
So remember, the Bible talks about that a lot, about remembering things. So hang on to this video and then you can revisit it. Thanks for watching.